Okay, I had a bunch of stuff on my mind to talk about. Figured I'd do it while I have a puff of Old Thomas here. Assuming one of these 3 empty lighters will get me going. I don't have any matches left. My lighters are worn out, so it might be a fruitless effort here. Anyway, just a quick thing I wanted to talk about chakra-wise. I don't have any tattoos. I don't have any piercings. And really, I don't care about stuff like that. But another reason why I would never get one, unless I knew exactly how it was affecting my spiritual energy and material energy, because that's the whole thing. Chakras affect your spiritual energy and material energy, depending on where they're tattooed on your body. Really want to avoid tattoos that affect your spiritual energy. So you don't want tattoos over the heart. You don't want tattoos on your neck or your face. Those will really mess up your spiritual energy unless you've been passed down traditions, and these people, more like tribal people, who know what they're doing. You Americans don't know what you're doing. We Americans. That's why I don't get tattoos. Piercings are the same thing. They affect your energy. Jewelry affects your energy. I've never liked jewelry. I've never worn a ring in my life, nor watches, or anything like that. Because even like when I dated girls who were like, oh, put this necklace on me or hold my hand, and they're wearing like 2 or 3 rings or something, I don't want to touch the rings. I don't want to touch their jewelry. There's something about it vibrates the wrong way for me, and I don't want anything to do with it. One of the reasons I don't really have a wife is I'm very different, especially here in Texas. I don't like makeup on girls. I don't like fake fingernails or painted fingernails or painted lips and stuff like that. I like more natural beauty, and there's a lot of beautiful women. I see beautiful women everywhere, but they'd be a lot more beautiful without any makeup or fake fingernails and all that nonsense. But shouldn't try to be so judgmental about it. It's just not for me. It's just not for me. I don't know if that stuff affects energy. I'm sure it does, but not nearly as much as tattoos or piercings are going to do. So, unless you know exactly what you're doing, I would not get such thing done to you. Oh, all right. So I'm not any kind of political or any kind of religious in a strict sense, as in I don't abide by any one box, right? I use Bruce Lee's method of building a martial arts, Jeet Kune Do, which is take what is useful and disregard what is not. I use it in every part of my life. I use it in what little politics I get involved in, which is not much, and I use it in religion and spirituality, which I love almost all. I appreciate all religions and spirituality opinions and perspectives. I'm trying to build as much perspective as I can, and I appreciate my Christian and conservative roots, absolutely. And surely, if you saw how I lived, you would probably say I'm conservative. I still keep a lot of my conservative ways, but I am definitely not Republican, and I don't really vote because I don't believe that matters. I don't think that the people who get put in charge are, Democrat or Republican wise, are actually enemies. They're probably friends and laughing at us all in the background, but that's not really the point. That doesn't really matter. I don't like getting involved in that stuff, but I do like exploring religion and spirituality, and I do believe every single word of the Bible. Now, do I worship the Old Testament God? Absolutely not. Do I worship the New Testament God? Yes, I believe those gods are different. I believe the God that Jesus is talking about is the source of all creation and not the God from the Old Testament. He's the frequency of all creation, if you want. He's the music origin of all creation, if you want. The light origin of all creation, if you want, or maybe some kind of incomprehensible mixture of the three things. I really don't find that very important. I just know I'm connected to higher stuff, and I try to trust in those higher things. And those higher things tell me that gods that want to be worshipped, or gods that get jealous, or gods that ask for sacrifices, are not the gods I want to be having to do with. I want to deal with just love, right? Love, light, and energy. And as far as Jesus is concerned, I do believe he was a person. I don't think he looked like me. A lot of people say I look like Jesus, especially when my hair is down as such. At the gym, sometimes they call me Gym Jesus, which is funny, and around where I live, they call me Hobo Jesus, which is funny. But I don't think he looked like me at all. I think he looked like probably the rest of his disciples, which is why Judas had to kiss him and show the Romans which one he was, because they all looked the bloody same, right? But I do believe in his teachings, absolutely. I don't want to say I don't believe, but I don't hold stock in forgiveness, in his forgiveness, right? It may or may not be there. I think, personally, I think Jesus was a Buddha, and the Buddhas were a Christ. I think a Buddha and a Christ is the same thing. You watch out, my good baby boy. You're standing right in the way, my son. Just stand over here and do your thing, huh? Anyway, I don't put any stock into the forgiveness aspect. All the other teachings or the things that you might find Jesus related, I believe. I believe in the miracles. I believe in the resurrection. I believe almost all of it, but I don't put stock in the forgiveness. And the main reason for that is, as a man who's trying to be a man of honor, why would you not want to suffer your karma yourself and put the suffering of that karma on somebody else? Karma meaning action. So my sins will result in bad things happening to me. And in my opinion, if you're not too far down the sin hole, you will get bad things happening to you in that life that will help you to even the scales and repent for those sins. Right? I feel like I've paid for most of all my sins by this point. I've had some suffering, some physical suffering, mostly lots of emotional suffering, and I don't put any more weight in one than the other. I certainly haven't suffered as much as some, but I've certainly not sinned as much as some. And so I believe in taking on my own burdens and paying for my sins myself. I would not put those burdens willingly on somebody else, be it Jesus or Buddha or whatever. Now, if there's no choice in the matter and they take them anyway, I guess that's fine and dandy, but given the choice, I'd rather pay for them myself. Now, I'm talking too much. Yeah, I'm talking too much to maintain that. Thought. Always with the thought being hard to catch for me. Oh, yes, okay. Here's another one. A lot of things I don't like bothering people about. I'm not trying to make you be like me. A lot of the ego traps are, first is material superiority or inferiority. And then it's, once you pass those ego traps, you might move on to feeling spiritually superior than someone else, because you're like, oh, you thought you superseded the ego, and now you're studying spiritual stuff and all, you're clearly better off spiritually than everybody else. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that, right? I don't like to bother people with my thoughts out in the open, like like some programmed, brainwashed Christians might ask you, "Well, have you invited Jesus into your heart?" Well, in my opinion, Christ, Buddha, already in the heart. Jesus already there. The problem is not that Jesus isn't in the heart. The problem is that you're not in the heart, or we're not in the heart. Right? That's, in my opinion, that's the issue. And so that's why I play with the chakras and I study so many different religious things, as to try to improve my way of thinking, because I understand that all outward judgment by myself is truly inward judgment. Anything I think negatively about others is something I'm actually thinking negatively about myself. So when I can be free of those things, and that's why I kind of find in my phase of life where I'm at now, I'm still working on not judging others, and I feel like that's why I live in this particular area I'm living in now, before I can move off to some more off-grid, secluded area when I'm finally judgment-free. Right now I have a lot of neighbors, what you might call white trash. And at the very beginning of my staying in this particular area, I was very judgmental of their ways and how they lived and how they talked and all this such and such. And almost immediately I realized, well, that's why I'm here. I'm here to conquer that. And it's been 2 or 3 years I've been here, and I'm telling you, it's a slow progress for me. I have come a long ways from when I got here, and I'm not nearly as judgmental, but it does pop into my head every now and then. A little bit of spiritual or physical superiority feeling because of, but the truth is, they're just me. They're just me living some other life, and I need to accept that, and I need to let go of all these feelings of superiority, because they're nonsensical feelings that don't do me any good, don't do me any justice. And so yeah, that's why I'm here right now, and hopefully I won't be here much longer. I would like to live a little bit deeper in the woods, put a lot less trash around. I try to keep the trash out of the videos, but the previous owner of the property was a drunkard mechanic. Good guy though, very good guy. But there's trash everywhere, and I can rake it up all I want, but the ground keeps washing away and more trash keeps coming out of it. It's just kind of always around and in sight. Can't quite get it to stay away, unless it's really lush in the summertime. Then it's a lot harder to see. But a lot of glass too. Makes the barefoot walking. Got to be a little bit more careful, but I do lots of barefoot walking around here and running. And, sometimes you're going to get a cut foot, and that's okay. Now, I had many other things I wanted to talk about, but I don't seem to have them available to me at the moment. I'll probably turn the camera off for a minute, reflect, smoke my pipe, and then come back to you. This plane of existence, this earthly realm, is an interesting thing. You can step out of the matrix and see it for what it is. I believe everything, like I said before, from the Bible, including we were made from the earth, from the dirt, including the pillars in the firmament, including many things, giants and dragons and all the such, I believe existed. And I believe the earth was made of flesh, just as we were once made of dirt. And this is a realm much like a program, like a simulation. I'm pretty sure things I'm not seeing aren't quite rendered. I'm pretty sure we can see in frames per second, because through my martial arts training and my watching of fast people who can fight really quick and move really quickly, I've noticed how I'm able to see them in a more slower manner, as I'm able to process more frames per second. And like I replied to on Off-Grid Jungle Muscles video, I came to this sort of conclusion around 2012 when, a lot of the sciences, which I don't get into science very much anymore, were saying things like, the world is just a code that your brain is interpreting. It's just a carbon code or an atom code or however you would like to look at it, a frequency code. But the fact of the matter is the brain, if it is code itself, cannot be the thing doing the encoding. There must be something inside or outside, depending on how you look at it, above or below, depending on how you look at it, that's doing the actual processing. Your mind, spirit, soul, so to say. I really should start writing down my thoughts just in at least little cliff note forms, but I like to try to make these videos as authentic as I can and just rant directly from the mind. And I have a very tangible mind, and I guess you could say I used to have ADHD and dyslexia, but in my opinion, these things are just a lack of discipline. Dyslexia is just a lack of me not focusing on what I'm reading properly, and ADHD, in my opinion, is just a lack of focus. Um, so I don't have those things, I don't believe. I just need to work on my focus when it comes to speaking and saying what I want. You could do a lot of things with your mind. For example, I used to have asthma. I used to have shellfish allergy. Pretty bad. If I took a small bite of crab, that would take me to hospital when I was a wee kid. Get shot, right? But when I'm meditating, I figured out, this whole place, like I said, is a simulation of our own creation, right? And it is basically just one large placebo effect, in my opinion. So I looked deep within and I traced, where did the seeds of the idea of the allergy come from, right? So I was also allergic to English peas. Well, I was allergic to English peas because as a kid, I didn't like them, and one day I was made to sit for 2-3 hours at the dinner table while everyone else got to go to bed, and because I would refuse to eat the peas, and I disliked them so much, I create a mental allergy to them. And when I learned, basically, when my subconscious learned that that is a thing that it could do, and I was presented the shrimp, I looked at this nasty thing and say, "Oh, don't want to eat that. Maybe I'll have an allergy to that too." And I did. Oh, and I made a bad one of that one. The pea one was not nearly as bad. It was like just get real rashy and uh, stingy in the mouth. But the shrimp and crab one, had to go take a shot for that. So later on, maybe 18, maybe 20, 21, 22, I figure out, okay, if I trace the source of where I got the idea of the allergy, I could destroy the whole entire plant life of that, the seed and everything, and the allergy is now gone. I do no longer have asthma. I can eat peas, and I can eat as much crab and shrimp as I want, but I don't really like eating at the bottom feeders. But if someone say, hey, I don't believe you, I'll eat some for them, show them. Because everybody in my family can tell you, I did have the allergy, or the reactions at least, right? But it's all in your head. And not everything is going to be that easy to meditate out, because some stuff, maybe you didn't program into yourself like I did, and it might be harder to figure out the source. You just have to meditate, and you have to search for the source of the placebo effect, and then you have to work at nullifying that and overcoming it. But it can be done. That's why I believe that you can change your DNA and your genetics, and all that fun stuff, although that kind of thing I haven't been able to do quite successfully yet. If I could, I would like to be a little bit wider. I'm a very narrow, tall build, and I have a very short torso and long legs, which is why I really have to lean forward a lot on my squats to keep the bar over my heels. It's very difficult for me to do the squats. Huckleberry, thank you for your input. Would you like to speak to the camera, Huckleberry, and tell them your thoughts about all of this? All right. Yes, you are a sweet Huckleberry. It is true. I think I've covered everything, but one thing else I'd like to talk about. Again, I will turn the camera off, smoke some more, and I will return when it comes to me. A couple of my buddies like to talk about and pay attention to some of the wild things that are happening out in the world, but I am not too very interested in things that I can't immediately affect and that don't immediately affect me. Very interesting thing, when we had the COVID thing, barely even noticed. It literally affected me so little that I think I went into one bookstore. They said, wear a mask. And I said, no, thank you. I'll just go somewhere else. But I stayed on a farm at the time, so I was barely in any cities. I just lived life like normal, and honestly, I didn't even notice it happening. It wasn't until the very end of it that I moved back to where I'm at now and had that one thing with the bookstore, but then it was quite nearly over after that, and I really was just hearing about all the things that people were putting up with and doing after the fact. I did not get the jab. I don't go to doctors unless I need a quick surgery for something that I just got out of control. They told me I almost lost this leg. It was swollen up about that big before I decided to go have it looked at. I'm very stubborn that way, but I don't get sick. I don't think I've been sick in 4 or 5 years, and the only reason I got sick then was just because I laid with my girlfriend at the time who was sick. So that is another one of the reasons I don't get very sick, is because I don't interact too much with people, and I don't have little children like some people do who go out to the school and get all the stuff and bring it back. But I also don't use shampoos. I really, only thing I do that's normal is I brush my teeth with non-fluoride enamel repairing toothpaste, but no soap, no shampoos or conditioners in the hair. I don't wash the hair but a couple times a week. I like dirt on my body because it connects me to the earth, so I like staying a little bit dirty. I like to have the germs and build the immunity, and it keeps me healthy. In fact, if you've ever seen my back, I have tons and tons and tons of scars from boils, and I still get a couple boils on my back here and there. It's not fun. I had severe acne in high school. Never took steroids. Sometimes I get steroid accusations, but I'm a pretty small guy. I feel like it shouldn't be that hard for me to convince somebody that I didn't take any steroids. But I did have severe acne in high school. It was mostly on my face, so badly that it would cake up really thick, 1/4 inch thick on my face. And one time I went crazy and I just grabbed my skin and filleted my skin to the meat, to about the size of a quarter, just to get that stuff off of it. Point being is that when I had that, I thought maybe because I didn't shower enough was the reason. So I started showering, and from 9th grade to my senior year, I would shower every morning and every night very thoroughly. And during those 4 years, I would get sick, right? Now, a lot of that is not just the showering and taking too many germs off the body and not having the immunity, but a lot of that is also school will make you sick. Too much work will make you sick. Too much doing this slave bullshit that society makes you do get you sick. You know how somebody they work so hard and hard, right? And then let's say they plan a vacation, They plan a vacation, and right before they do the vacation, they're getting sick. Why are they getting sick? Because they want some rest, and vacation take a lot of work, so they get sick and they don't want to go on vacation, and that is better for you, right? You should not be living that way, that you'll work yourself to a stressful sickness, and the only way to get a break from what you're doing constantly is to subconsciously make yourself sick. All right. So ever since I go back to my more more outdoorsy, dirty, manly ways, I don't get sick anymore. And also because I don't interact with all those extra germs. You know, you want the right amount of bacteria and germs, and you still want to clean. I still clean myself very thoroughly. I use a bidet, but really it's just a water hose into my house. Right, and ever since I started doing that, like some things need to be cleaned well, other things don't, like your feet and your hands. So I don't clean my feet or my hands very often. I like those. I like the grimy, dirty feet and hands. But pits and privates, I clean a little more thoroughly, especially after the restroom parts, right? And you used to get, what is it called, a hernia? I don't know, where you get the little bump above the hole there where the poop comes out, and sometimes you bleed a lot when you wipe. I would get those, and then once I started using the bidet 3-4 years ago, never again, never again have that problem, right? Only real problem health-wise I have now is a few cavities in some of my teeth that I'm trying to fix with remineralizing gum. I will let you know how that goes if it is successful, but that was just from eating too much sugar, too much ice cream, smoking the weed, and having the cotton mouth all the time, so that the saliva is not there. The saliva is important for the economy of the mouth, right? The ecosystem of the mouth. Keeping the mouth closed and letting the saliva build and letting the teeth soak in the saliva rebalances the pH. If you don't have the saliva and you have too much sugar in the saliva, your pH is off and the teeth are dying, right? So that's how I will be fixing that. My last real health issue. But again, I don't see the doctor. Sickness is, yeah, like I said, it's all this stuff is placebo effect. One of my favorite lines from the band Modest Mouse is, "You're gonna get sick worrying about your health." You know, and that's a thing that new nurses and doctors get, right? Studying all the sicknesses, all of a sudden they've convinced themselves they have something or another, right? And that's why you can see people smoking the cigarettes till they're 90, perfectly healthy. Old 90-year-old guy smoking cigarettes can still dig, can still work like a champ. And then you got somebody smoke for 5 years, get the cancer. It's the fear that gives you the problems, not the doings of the things. But I still find it better to wane habits. I don't like to be relying on things, which is why I don't smoke my pipe every day, and I quit smoking weed, and I quit drinking maybe 2 years ago, and never really had a drinking addiction. I've never had addiction problems at all. The only thing I ever was addicted to was the weed. That was hard to quit. That was really hard to quit. Like maybe somebody who got drunk, who had an alcohol problem, but I drank a lot, and I could drink a lot. And the reason I could drink a lot was because I didn't necessarily drink to invite evil energies. So that's what the weed and the alcohol and the other drugs and everything else, right? They invite negative energy. You can look at it as negative thoughts. Since we're not our thoughts, they're basically demons, right? Demons into your life, and they'll start to control you. You're having a bad gut health, will give you negative thoughts. Little demons are little microscopic things in your gut that give you negative thoughts, and cleansing the gut and not having a reliance on things, which is why fasting is good. You don't have to rely on food. I like to be as self-sufficient as possible. That's my whole goal in life, is to have less comfort and less dependency on material things. So, but I never drank or smoked to get out of my right mind. So I never really got drunk. I could drink so much and I would throw it up and get sick in the body before I was not cognitive, right? Because I didn't want to be not cognitive. I wasn't trying to mess up my mental state with this stuff. I just liked the physical way it made my body feel, right? Especially with the weed, being able to work out like crazy, go smoke a joint, and then, oh, I don't feel the pain as much anymore, so I can work out even harder. But now I don't. I don't smoke for maybe a month now, and I'm not going to go back to it. I do maybe maybe I'll hit. If someone gives me something for free, I might smoke it on the weekend. But again, I might not. I probably won't actually, because when I do it, I do have to fight down the paranoia and the negative thoughts. I really, really like if I could find some CBD that's not going to get you high, because I really like smoking in the way the green leaves taste, especially over the tobacco, but I like the tobacco too, especially with like a meat and cheese. Makes the food taste smoked, right? And I used to make whiskey taste really good when I drank too, but anyway, those things, I don't want to fight the negative energies anymore. When I'm clean and free like this, I don't have to fight the negative energies. I can wake up, I can breathe and meditate and say hello to the sun and say thank you for the day and how appreciative I am. And then the day is just so good and it's so great, regardless of what is being done, right? And I don't think I could ever go back. It's just so freeing to be away from negativity. It's not happiness. It's not wealth in the sort of rich way. I mean, it's a different kind of wealth, but it's just peace, right? It's real liberating peace, and I would not trade it for anything now. I quite love it.